You know when you're at the beach and you see those clumps of seaweed washed ashore? You probably don't think much of it, right? Just random ocean stuff. Well, what if I told you that some of that seaweed is actually part of the largest algae bloom on the entire planet? A single connected ribbon of life so enormous you can see it from space. For the longest time, we had the story of sargassum seaweed completely wrong. I mean, we thought it was just a minor annoyance, something that occasionally messed up a beach day. But the reality, something we've only just recently uncovered, is on a scale that's hard to even wrap your head around. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack in this explainer. Okay, so let's start with the old story, the myth that this was all just some minor nuisance. Where did that idea even come from? And the bigger question is, how on earth did we miss something this gigantic for so long? Well, for centuries, sailors would talk about the Sargasso Sea, this strange patch of the Atlantic with floating seaweed mats. But everyone just assumed it was a local thing stuck in one place. And even when we got our eyes in the sky with satellites, our sensors were all tuned to look for microscopic stuff, phytoplankton. They weren't looking for these huge floating forests of macroalgae. Sargassum was literally hiding in plain sight. But that old, comfortable view was about to get completely obliterated. As our technology got better, we got a whole new perspective, the view from space. And what it showed us, well, it was a shocking new reality. What's just wild about this is how recent all of this is. I mean, look at this timeline. For most of the 2000s, we were still basically flying blind. The real game changer hit in 2011. That's when scientists first saw it. Not just some clumps, but a continuous belt of seaweed that stretched across the entire Atlantic basin. And now, with AI crunching millions of satellite images, we've finally confirmed its true, absolutely staggering scale. And here it is. The Great Atlantic Sargassum Belt. It is just immense. We're talking about a continuous ribbon of algae that stretches from the coast of West Africa all the way across the ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. It literally connects continents. To put that into perspective, that's like driving from New York to London and then some. And the weight? You're not going to believe this. In its peak years, this belt can weigh more than 30 million tons. That is heavier than 200,000 blue whales, the largest animal to have ever lived on this planet. This is, without a doubt, the single largest bloom of algae on Earth. Now, something this massive doesn't just happen by accident. It needs the perfect recipe, right? So what are the key ingredients that came together to create this oceanic superbloom? You can really think of it like a three-step recipe. First, you get this huge upwelling of deep, nutrient-packed water off the coast of West Africa. Then, step 2, you have iron-rich dust that blows off the Sahara Desert and basically fertilizes the surface of the ocean. And for the final ingredient, you have a massive influx of even more nutrients pouring out from giant rivers like the Amazon and the Orinoco. When you put it all together, it is the perfect storm. The rivers and the dust create this super-rich nutrient soup, basically a superfood for sargassum. At the exact same time, the ocean is getting warmer, which is like turning up the thermostat in a greenhouse, just supercharging its growth. And the final piece of the puzzle? The ocean currents. They act like a giant conveyor belt, gathering all the seaweed and concentrating it into this one enormous belt. But this isn't just a story about a really, really big algae bloom. What scientists are now realizing is that we are witnessing a fundamental change to the entire ocean ecosystem. An absolute takeover. So here's the key concept we have to get our heads around. It's called an ecological regime shift. This isn't just some temporary blip. It's when an entire ecosystem rapidly and permanently flips to a totally new state of being. The old rules just don't apply anymore. The tropical Atlantic is literally reorganizing itself before our very eyes. And here's how that takeover is happening. Forever, the base of the ocean food web was these tiny, microscopic plants called phytoplankton. But sargassum is the new kid on the block, and it's an absolute beast. It's way better at soaking up all those nutrients, it floats right on the surface, hogging all the sunlight, and to top it off, most animals won't even eat it. It's staging a complete ecological coup. And a takeover on this scale, as you can imagine, has massive ripple effects. But this isn't a simple good guy, bad guy story. It's a true double-edged sword with some surprising upsides and some devastating downsides. This table really breaks down that split personality. You see, out in the middle of the open ocean, it's actually incredible. It's this vital floating habitat, a golden rainforest of the sea for fish, turtles, and all sorts of life. But The second it washes ashore, it becomes an absolute nightmare. It smothers and kills precious coral reefs. As it rots, it sucks all the oxygen out of the water, causing massive fish kills. It even releases toxic gases that can cause serious respiratory problems for people living on the coast. And the economic fallout for coastal communities is just devastating. We're talking about places in the Caribbean, Mexico, and West Africa losing hundreds of millions of dollars every single year. That's from lost tourism, crippled fisheries, and just the insane costs of trying to clean it all up. It's an environmental and an economic crisis all rolled into one. Which brings us to a final, really sobering conclusion. This isn't some freak event that's going to go away. All signs are pointing to one thing. This is the Atlantic's new normal. We have to stop thinking of this as a problem that we can solve, or something that will just disappear. The science is pretty clear that the conditions that created the Great Atlantic Sargassum Belt are here to stay. This is a persistent, fundamental reorganization of how this massive part of our planet works, a true regime shift. And maybe the most alarming part of all, it's not just staying, it's growing, it's accelerating. On average, the data shows the area covered by this belt is expanding by over 13% every single year. Just think about that kind of compounding growth. This isn't just a new feature of our planet, it's a rapidly expanding one. So the real takeaway here is that we are witnessing one of the most significant ecological transformations of our time, and we're watching it happen live from space. We know now that the tropical Atlantic has fundamentally and perhaps permanently changed. And that leaves us with one last pretty unsettling question to think about. Which ocean is next?